Hi everyone. So today something very, very interesting happened. Something that's causing a lot of pandemonium across the USA and all of its polls and standings. And here is what it's about. Um, so the capital of the USA today was just recently attacked. And why would they want to attack that? Do we know? It's apparently the far right protests against the electoral votes. Now, I'm going to get deep into that. Now, electoral voting actually comes from way back in the day. The 1700s and 1800s was the proper, the setting for electoral votes and collegial powers. However, predating the times of deans and even the times of dictatorships, when there used to be the pharaohs, and when there used to be the DNA strands that would come from the TC, when you're looking at it, the TCAG and, the gamma rays that are, headed into your mind. And as you fluidly are able to commit to the processions and the proceedings of the former, no, you stop. You take your darkness, take it somewhere else, put it somewhere else. No one wants to deal with that except for you for the time being, okay? You look in the mirror, all right? So then, here on the good note of everything, even though we have all this going on, I'm going to give you a little history lesson now. 1776, we all know what happened then. Now, a lot of the towns around that time, the colonies, I should say, British occupied or whatnot, relate a lot today to a lot of the colonies from Africa. Now, Africa had a lot of evolved colonies. It took a lot of time for society there to develop and evolve. And, most of the time, people in the USA, they don't really care or know what's going on much in Africa. Most of the people in the USA are actually fairly ignorant to a lot of those occurrences. And they might know something about the EU. They actually probably know more about Russia and a little bit more about China. Now, with all that being said, when your eyes are open to the effects that all of the sands of time are having on the archaeologists and the archaic representations of sociology, as well as the definition of psychology itself, when you are seeing the dissemination of testimonies, as well as the directing of the photons and the photon cannons, if you know of the dragoons carries over to the spears and the spear jumpers, the fishermen. The fishermen would usually go out there. They had the spear guns ready at the waiting, at the ready, and the octopi, the black octopi, the factions that existed, and just for the sake of guerrilla warfare, guerrilla type operations. Rest in peace, Harambe. And when you are visiting the dual bay, the double bay, you can kind of see that the processions from the concessions are they recede toward the fornification of it's the same way Constantinople and Istanbul, the way those names had switched around, as well as the transportation of equality. And as people flocked toward that idea, they had sort of it was like a fitness of the body. It was a healthiness. And as amazing as all of this was, just gathering all these things up to this point, you have sort of like a red tip side, the red point, and the needle drops. And as soon as that happens, you listen up to the music. You know exactly where all of that energy is coming from, the dusts, the shadows, the drive back. And so you figure out eventually what your part in all of this is. As a voter fraud, if you're a fraud, that's your part. and then you play your part, and you just the partitions and the egalitarian forces, as well as the eagles of the skies and the eagles of Congress, as they have links together. They're not only collegiate smart, but they're university level smart. And so, provided that they have a way of addressing people in the Senate, provided they have ways of addressing the senators, the governors, the different statesmen, and the constitutional rights of each individual involved, you're going to get kind of a validating effect, a validation of a verification process of transferring your energies. And so when you sink that to the bottom of your gut, and below that, as you stand, where it is that you stand, you're able to flow that toward the right direction. And that kind of gives you a sense of justice. That gives you a sense of what is just. It is a good thing. It's the best thing. This is the best podcast that you've heard in like a very long time. The center point is just so defined, and it moves around, and how are you able to stay within one vein, one sector of it? You're not sure, but you trust in the process. And that gets you from one route to the next route, from one branch to the next branch. And so as you leap around as a I don't want to say a CEO, because you're not that. You're not there just yet. But as a corporate figure, as a corporate entity, tie it up and release it, and then it's a fair game. So with the fair game being involved, when you let the golf ball land where it's supposed to be, your wings may extend, they spread, and they fly. And that's where things go into sort of that restricted area. You won't be accessing that anytime soon, unless you figure out the shell, the circle, the coding, and the coded expression that is involved in formalities. So as soon as you are able to figure out the formalities and the informalities, the differences between the two, when you take a look at how people have stood forward and how they kind of reverse back in a reverberating, wavy effect, that's where the sweet spot is. So just listen up, have your heart open to some things, and then your mind, let it be exactly what it is. Let it wander into the Fallout Nation. So anyways, thank you so much for being on point here with what we call the just point. And the justification is very relevant to not only Georgia, Virginia, South Carolina, California, Nevada, Oregon, but you also have the other states involved. When you can try to involve Oklahoma, but don't recommend that. Tennessee, New Jersey, Kentucky, all the different derbies that you have, you fly under the radar, focus hard on that. The sweet spot is right there. Once again, thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.